So I make this really delicious vegan mac and cheese dish with these chickpea noodles, which have a habit of being very dry, but I use them because I cannot eat wheat without having an adverse reaction in my nether regions. I get so bloated. So these legit only have chickpeas in them. They have a habit of being dry. So you need to make sure that your sauce or your gravy is thick enough to really penetrate through that dry ass chickpea noodle. But it's good. It does take a little getting used to, but it's good. So the recipe that I'm going to show you today, I use as a cream of mushroom recipe, mushroom gravy recipe, and I also use it to make vegan mac and cheese. It's all the same process. I make this really good veggie broth base. Watch. It's so good. All right, so I have my water boiling for those noodles. The first thing I like to do before I start cooking, other than clean everything, is to get out all of my seasonings. I need to wash my Dutch oven. These are the seasonings I'm using. I like to use more than one salt as well. And my mustard. This is gonna be so good. I'm excited. I'm gonna use celery, red peppers, and my mushrooms. This cabbage has some bad leaves on it, so I just picked the outside. You see how like that is? I'm gonna cut it off. And then the stuff I'm about to use. Here's the piece I cut off. Cabbage may be inexpensive, but we don't need to waste it. I don't know how long you've been here, but right now I'm studying the Gnostic Gospels. Super dirty. I was trying to tell you that I was studying the Gnostic Gospels. I don't know why my children have decided to be so irky today, but they have chosen to do so. I've been studying the Gnostic Gospels, and when I'm studying these ancient texts and I'm reading things like Job, I'm starting to see a whole different level of faith, like a much higher standard of faith. Puts a lot of things in perspective. All right, I'm gonna make my seasoning mix. I still have to salt my water. I love you too. Have fun. You know to be back here before dark.
I wish I had gum for real. I got you, Mom.
All right. Dried mustard. I want a lot of that. And turmeric. And black pepper. All right. Black before dark. Oh, your cat decided to show up. I love you too.
We'll see you later.
Be back before dark fire.
I am. Say my yum.
I can't stand when she leaves, but I can't make her stay in the house. I mean, I could, but I'm not going to. That's not healthy at all. Either way. So, I started researching all of this stuff so that I could find some answers, find some truth. Because I was raised in a Christian church. And when I started asking questions, like, especially around the Adam and Eve story, about like how can Adam and Eve be the only people and go off and multiply, all this other stuff. Nobody wanted to answer my questions. They got an attitude. Matter of fact, I got kicked out of Sunday school. As I got older and I started studying history and learning about ancient aliens and the seeding of the planets and stuff like that, things began to change. I started getting answers. So even though I grew up reading the King James Bible, now understanding that there are pieces of the Bible that were taken out, like big chunks of it, it makes sense how a lot of those stories didn't make any sense back then. Because there's so many missing pieces. The characters that are being portrayed in a Bible that has pieces missing out of it really affects the meaning behind the stories that we were told as children growing up. So just the simple fact that there was so much information being hidden intrigued me, because it's like, wow, this Must be some pretty powerful information if so many. It must be some pretty powerful information if it's being hidden from the entire human race. But the truth will always come to surface, even if it takes a long time. And so now I study like the Apocrypha and the Gnostic Gospels that have the parts of the Bible that were taken out of it. And learning about the stories that were written on like cuneiform tablets, like the Epic of Gilgamesh, stuff like that. And I find that instead of like entertaining myself, that these stories are so much more meaningful, and plus like it's our history. It's actually our history. So I just wanted answers, honestly. I had to cut up some garlic too. It's like I appreciate whatever I've been taught growing up in the church, but it was only a stepping stone to finding my truth. Because your relationship with God is something that you have to experience, and faith has to be built. You can't just talk somebody into having faith in a God that they still have not cultivated a relationship with. You know, you can't go right into just growing up praising this entity that you don't even fully understand. And then the Bible is supposed to be like the history and the lesson book, but there's like chunks taken out of it. If the Bible is like the college manual to how to have a clean soul and ascend, then you can't have 468 chapters taken out of it and expect anybody to know what you're talking about. I'm just trying to find some truth, but I want to have my own ideas and my own ideas, not necessarily my own theories about God, but I do have my own theory about God. Yeah, I don't want to just believe what someone tells me. I appreciate what I can garner from everyone's input, all the people that I study, all the things that I read, but ultimately, it's what I've experienced in real time, in real life, that determines what I believe in. Because regardless of what I read, I know what I experienced. I was there, and that's undeniable. I know within myself, without needing to prove it to anyone else, what I have experienced firsthand with the Most High, Spirit, Gaia, Goddess, Mother, whatever. All the same thing. But now I'm starting to get more information about the astral realm. Reading and learning about Enoch in the realms of, like, the astral realms. Now I'm really starting to get into the good stuff that I can actually apply to my life and start really understanding this whole thing on a much deeper level. And that has by self-led study. It's not something I was spoon-fed. Don't it seem like everything free and quality? Whether it's free food or free education? No, because nothing that they were teaching my kids in public school were things that they actually needed. The things that they started learning when they were homeschooling with me are things that they're actually using. So here's the plan. While those noodles are boiling at a medium temperature, we're going to saute these vegetables up. I'm going to add some mushrooms to them towards the end when they're almost ready, because I don't want to really overcook my mushrooms. Once the vegetables are sauteed up, I'm going to put them to the side, and we're going to make a roux. But instead of using water or milk, I'm going to make a seasoned broth that's going to add a whole new level of flavor. And I'm also salting my sauteed vegetables. I have to salt at every step. Salt the vegetables, salt the noodles in the water, salt the roux. So for my broth, I'm just going to add salt and paprika. Now add water and mix. Oh, and onion powder. Can't forget the onion powder. And I'm gonna add some smoked paprika because I just love that umami flavor it gives it. I like that. It makes everyone feel full. Now this smells good. This is a trick I use when I'm making soup because a lot of times soups will call for beef bouillon, and I'm vegan, so I don't like using pre-mixed stuff, even though the seasonings are processed. I get that. I'm doing the best I can. So I came up with this little trick to make my own broth, and I use this for gravy, my macaroni and cheese, and soup. Yep. So now I need to cut those mushrooms up, and I've got my seasonings for my vegetables are done. I'm gonna turn these up to an 8 so we can get moving. What is this salt for? I don't know, but I'll leave that good. Done. I wouldn't usually use so many mushrooms for this dish, but they were going bad and I didn't want to waste them. So I've got my little leftover garlic. I like to keep it here. Remember I bought this from the dollar store for $1? I was so happy with that purchase. And I'm about to put my mushrooms in there. And my seasoning. Now mushrooms are so bland, but there's salt in my seasoning, so I'm technically salting them again. Put this down for a few minutes. It's just crazy how even after all this salt, it's probably going to need salt again before this dish is done. Put this down, and then we're going to take it out and make our roux. The roux I made last time was way too oily. Way too oily. I mismeasured. So I'm going to do a 1 and 1. I'm going to do 1 cup of flour, 1 cup of oil. There's my flour. Whenever I use a liquid measure for this, it does not come out right. 1 on 1. I don't know, it still looks too oily. I don't trust it. I don't trust it. I'm probably not going to use all that oil. It just looks like a lot, and it's spilling. I don't understand why my kids have to slam the doors and slam the cabinets. Alright, this is cooked up enough. Let's get it out. I'm going to actually use less oil because that half and half measurement for the roux was for butter, and butter is not all oil. It's cream. So I do not feel like I need all that oil. I'm going to use significantly less. That's enough. Just going to trust my gut on this one. Noodles are almost done. Put this roux down to a medium. Cook this down for a couple of minutes, then I'm going to add my broth. Then it'll thicken up. Then we add our veg. Then we add our noodle. And boom! These noodles been done. I just like to overcook these particular type of noodles a little bit because they have a tendency to be dry. I'm going to go ahead and let them cook. There's little chunks of vegetables that are still in there. This is going to make such a good gravy. I love it. It's the simple things. But this gives macaroni and cheese, but with vegetables. This ain't cheese the first, but it's going to taste like it. I'm going to clean up the kitchen a little bit. It's getting hot in here. In a few minutes. I add my broth in a little bit at a time. And let it thicken up. I feel like this is the worst part of making a roux because it's like, did I do it right? Did I do it right? This is the moment of truth. Go from this to this. About 3.5 minutes and a whole lot of side eye. So this is the point where we add our vegetables so it can be a gravy. You can add more broth and make it a cream of vegetable soup. Or you can cook it down a few more minutes and make a nice cheesy broth. Cheesy sauce. And if you have any, what is that stuff called? Nutritional yeast. If you have any nutritional yeast, that's a good thing to put in there. It does not contain sugar, eggs, milk, gluten, wheat. Well, let me tell you what it does contain. Cheesy seasoning without it's complete protein. Nutritional yeast is protein, and a lot of vegans use it as a replacement for cheese. It does not have eggs, milk, gluten, wheat, starch, soy, animal derivatives, artificial color, or preservatives. It's a good source of complete protein. It has B vitamins for body metabolism, skin health, and brain development. It's perfect for keto and paleo diets. Nutritional yeast. Put a little bit of that in there. Just a little bit of that in there. Because if it don't help your brain, why are you eating it? Nice. Very nice. And see, now it's nice and thick, like the cheese sauce. I could put some more of that nutritional yeast in there, but I'm not going to. And now we've got a bit of a yellow sauce. And now we put in our veg. That little bit of moisture ain't gonna hurt nothing. Because the more this cooks, the thicker it gets, so. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Ah. Ooh. I believe, did this come with my Dutch oven? I think it did, because I would never buy that. Yeah, my Dutch oven came with that to sit it on, and these, and a book. Oops, I put the wrong thing. This is supposed to go in here, so that the noodles can drain. Now I'll put this on low, and it's nice and cheesy, baby, and full of loving and nutrients. Does it have enough salt? It's perfect. Now we'll add the noodles and taste it again, because the noodles should be salted. So the noodles should have their own flavor. Now if you want to, you could put this in the oven and bake the top of it just like a macaroni and cheese, but it is hot. Who is doing that? I'm not doing that. This is what we have. A beautiful, cheesy vegetable pasta dish. Yum, yum, yum. And there we go, friends. I'd say that's a win. I have some Brussels sprouts that I'll make in a day or two that would pair very nicely with this. And they still have black beans and rice for the rest of the week. So the kids are covered. I won't have to cook anymore. Thank you for spending time with me in Fury World. If you'd like to check out my music, my artist's name is The Fury of Abyss, and my music is available on all streaming platforms worldwide. It's the fact that the vegetables are soft but crunchy, and the noodles are not dry. The sauce is not heavy, and there's a lot of flavor. Using that seasoned broth in place of water will change your recipes. I'll catch you in the next episode. Peace.